It's all good. Are you gonna have fun tonight or no? What's up, Case? I'm here.
Yeah, well, good sign, I guess.
Look at the seat I picked. Perfect. You guys didn't go out there and like a little escape emergency. Everything's out there. As long as the adult spoke yesterday, figured it out, let him go with it. We're at, gotta pass by, stop the movement. We're at 8 on the grand show. 450 out of free cash. Call it after every cut money. All balanced. There's no reason to stand up here. That's late. It's all set. Perfect. Well, hey. Doing great. Well, I was just telling them if they let the adults talk, that
no, you know we can do it.
Where are you? Where did you get in? Go through that gate up there?
over there.
Oh, I always go through that gate when I did baseball up there. Back up there.
All right, this is Alex on camera 1, radio check. Beautiful, same to you. All right, I'm going to check the focus now.
The long sleeves are going to be a killer, Wes.
You're telling me.
I like the bottom half. He's prepared for a Zoom meeting. He's got the top half
You know what?
business.
Honestly, God, I just to Laura, you know, they'll definitely put a sheet down anyway, so we'll be safe.
I thought that too.
No, they're good.
I know. It's always worse for the women.
You know, Kate, do I care? Screw it.
You need paperweights in your pockets.
Exactly.
All right, we should be in autofocus.
Okay. Okay, you ready
We're
for
just
this?
screwed. We're just gonna let everyone know us much better. Let's see.
Okay, so this is Kenny today, right? Hey, Jim, are you wearing a suit tonight? I was gonna, but I don't want to be overdressed. My reply?
You guys are such girls.
My reply. I think a tie will be good enough. Do you agree? Kenny,
Wait
yes.
a minute, did you really write that or did you check with Michelle before you wrote that?
No,
Come on, be honest.
what? I just spoke into it. I don't write. Jesus. All right. Do you agree? Kenny, yes, I agree. Me, you should tell Matt. Only ties.
You were gonna be the weakling.
Okay, here we go. Of course, Wes will be wearing shorts and sandals.
They begged you right from the beginning, Wes.
Yep. LOL will do. Matt's
set
on,
up with
and
Bob?
then Matt's on board. Please
Is Bob?
make sure Wes's sandles match shorts.
I gave it to
Kenny and I discussed it.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine.
I knew you were gonna. That's
Did you?
Okay, so he has 5 and 6?
Joanne really tried to talk me out of it. Like, you will not go like that.
Jim, let me
Okay.
see a picture of your
Okay. All right, so he's cool. No, he's fine. He's cool with that, right?
Diane Cohen?
Oh, good.
So you know what to do. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Finance committee recommends.
Check to 164, but the gain is on 10. Do you want me to put that down as well?
So before Aqua 5 stop, I'll bring it up. Talk about briefly the balanced budget or how we were to get it. And Bob will
Matt and Laura like
move the article and he's got a little space. And we'll just talk about it straight up. Yeah.
He's gonna have
Yeah.
the breakouts, and if someone has a question, we won't have to be doing musical chairs here. You
So
can just
we
read.
can, we're all here. We can meet. You guys, we can meet.
Okay, just before we do, Jeff's gonna take our picture, you and Jim in the middle because
No,
you're the
my
Oh,
whole ball
I should tuck my
John,
shirt in.
Kate.
a year and a half.
Why? This is gonna be the picture that says, that was a very strange.
Oh, wait, am I in it?
All right,
Am
John,
I
you there,
in it?
Greer?
You're in it now.
Okay. John, squeeze in.
Yeah, we all touching?
Yeah, right.
Just elbows though.
8 people within 6 feet.
Do you want us to slide in any direction?
This way?
Sean?
Yeah, the
Well,
podium will be.
we're taller
We
than
can
the
move the
podium at
podium.
least.
200 years hence, there will be listening
And also,
to our time.
All right, you
Yeah, exactly.
Kate,
Don't
hang
you
tight. You
think?
guys should move over.
Smiling.
Oh, it's not my glasses.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, well.
No, I don't think so yet. Hello?
You guys ready?
Okay.
The time. Here you go. Matt's got the time.
6:18.
6:18, thank you. Oh, we gotta hurry.
All right.
Kenny, that's okay. We'll take
All
care
right.
of that.
Hello? Test? Test?
And then,
Okay. As people are still registering and making their way into the meeting, could I please ask everybody who can to move forward? It just makes counting much easier. So we have more tellers than normal, but it makes it easier if you're grouped a little closer to the stage. And also, if we have any visitors here, I'm going to ask them to sit in the visitors section, which is to my right, and there's pink signs that say visitors. But if you could please stay over there, that would be greatly appreciated.
Hey, Joyce, Durante. When Durante says move up, Joyce, move. Jeez.
okay.
Especially since you guys are going to be speaking.
Yeah, we just have to be careful. Like the Britons, when they were changing it, it was muffled and it sounded horrible. How long was the discussion? Do you have a time limit on it?
Two.
So now you gotta, the only thing that's gonna stink on some of these pumps, you're gonna have to take the filter.
It's going to be a lot of interference.
Those mics just for us. Just like them. Put the filters down there and then it's not as bad and then you can talk on.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Maybe we could, at least for the beginning, but when we get into a debate.
Put it back down.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
Because we're gonna all be reading motions, so we're gonna keep passing this microphone around. I mean, the only other thing, Sean, and I know this would be painful, but I'm just thinking, let's have them all pass around the microphone and talk about it.
Would you guys object to that?
I said to Sean, because obviously, you know, just pass around the microphone without the filter.
No, I certainly wouldn't object.
Did you guys watch Whitman, the moderator? He read all the motions. And they had to amend a lot of their motions because of the year.
That's gonna save a lot of time. We have to each get up and blah, 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 sit down and
No,
get our
like I said, and I'll get up at certain times, but
Especially 23 or 24, whatever the
no, that's everyone except for Jim. Jim has to read his own motion.
All the motions are written in my book,
Yeah,
right?
we have another list of all the motions.
Okay.
I mean, is that, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No.
And then that way, like I said,
then we can get up and put better hands and stuff, whatever, but.
is that, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, Matt's next. We gotta hold on. Let's get the plastic off. Get your filter. Laura, you got your filter? Laura, you got 6. So,
Oh, you're gonna have us switching filters?
yes.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
That's
I didn't
why
hear that protocol.
That's why I said it.
That is
know,
not
wanted to hear Sean Keeley unfiltered.
Maybe you don't.
Mr. Bloss, not tonight.
I just made that up.
I'm going to need a little whiskey if I'm going to do that.
The only other thing is, who wants to second the motion?
What does Sean have?
Oh, yeah.
Sean, I have it.
Matt? You want to second the motion? Okay. I'll let Beth know.
Well, they're not his motion then.
Yes, that's another good point. Matt will second everything. Matt will second that.
Vice chair comes with a lot of responsibility. This is a crown and vice.
How are you?
Very I'm both scared and fascinated.
Just over scared.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody just look this way for a photo. Up to you whether you want masks or not. The masks will just say this was for the year of COVID. Hey, it'll be in the picture. Everybody ready? Okay, I'm gonna take this. All right, ready? Wait, just let the Mitchell be out of the way. Okay, here we go.
Exactly.
So I would say probably every article except for Article 5, where Bob Hayes is going to be reading his little speech. I'm going to have him move that.
Okay.
But the rest of them,
Yep. I'll do that.
where is Mr. Hayes?
He's,
I like to give people heads up so they know.
I think this is live, so. He should be, I think he's back there with Barbara. I can't tell with the mask.
No, you know what I mean? Like,
There he is, way over there.
It's all right. I'll just call him.
We'll see where the sun is. I mean, these shadows are about to start lengthening down to the road.
right. Yeah, it's funny. Some guy when I work in season tickets to Gillette, so he has access to all the photos that they take each quarter or whatever. So you can see who is sitting where at what time. Who left.
You guys ready? Mr. Mitchell? Let's get going.
You ready to start?
What's that?
Are you ready to start?
Yeah. Welcome to the 200th annual town meeting for the town of Hanson. I had a notion to dress like they would have at the first town meeting, and then I saw what they wore and I saw what the weather report was, and I thought better of it. So instead I went with summer wear. I hope it's all right. Several people are still in line to register. What we're going to do is take care of some of the preliminary stuff and perhaps do the special town meeting, which I'm hoping will be non-controversial. And by then, I'm hoping everybody will have been checked in for the annual town meeting, which will include several debates. So I've called the annual town meeting to order. And if you could, please all rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We also at the beginning of every town meeting, take an opportunity to remember those who we have lost since the last meeting. And so, if you would please, we'll have a moment of silence for Martin McIsaac Sr., Charles O.R. O'Donnell, Ed Bates, Ralph Grunland, Peggy O'Toole Driscoll, Daniel R. Cavici, Lawrence C. House. They all served the town of Hanson admirably and devoted quite a bit of their lives to our town. So if we could just please have a moment of silence. Thank you. It's particularly difficult to have lost Peggy this year, especially the way it happened. She was on the finance committee with me. And I'd just like to take the chance to thank our first responders who came to the scene, who did all they could to help her and her family, and for acting so bravely. Thank you very much. And also this year, I think it's particularly appropriate if we have a moment of silence for all the people we've lost to this dreadful virus. It's changed so much of our lives, but especially those who have lost someone. So if we could please have a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. And again, a related note, thank you to all of the nurses and the doctors who are out there who have been going to work through this horrible time. Thank you very much for your help and your service. So, as we begin this meeting, we have a couple of preliminary matters to deal with. The first is that the rules of the meeting will be governed by the Moderators Association Rules of Order Town Meeting Time. So please follow along if you brought your copy. And we also, according to that rule book, according to state law, certain votes have to be taken and achieve a certain percentage of the town meeting. Sometimes it's 2/3, sometimes it's 9/10 of the assembled voters. I'd like to make a motion to allow me to judge whether or not we've reached that number. If you disagree with the fact that we've come to, or my opinion that we've come to 2/3, you can always stand up, object, and we will take a counted vote. But this just saves a lot of time. So I make the motion. Do I have a second? Seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Another thing that we're going to be doing differently at this meeting is that we're going to have two consent motions, and I wrote about this in the paper last week. That's where we're going to group together several motions which town council, the selectmen, and I hope and feel will be non-controversial. Many of them are just housekeeping matters. We excluded anything that we thought might be debated. Now, we can be wrong. So, if I'm going to go article by article on the consent motion, if you really, really, really want to debate it, we will. But remember, we only have daylight for about 2 more hours. So, with that said, I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Anything else? All right, very good. A quorum is 100 people, and I declare that we've exceeded that. We will have an exact number later on in the meeting. So I will now adjourn the annual town meeting and call to order the special town meeting. The special town meeting is the yellow pamphlet that you picked up on the way in. Another thing we're going to do differently is that typically we have the selectmen or the people from the various boards and departments read the articles that they have proposed. Due to, in the hope of not transmitting anything from one to another, I'm going to read all the motions, and Mr. Dyer is going to second them, and hopefully we can proceed a little faster than we typically do at these meetings. So, Article 1 of the special town meeting. This requires a 9/10 vote. I move the town vote to transfer $1,296.50 from free cash to pay Able Construction LLC for a library-related unpaid bill from prior fiscal years. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Dwyer. Do we have any discussion on Article 1? Seeing none. Seeing none, all those in favor of the article signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it by a 9/10 vote. One other announcement. I've appointed Barbara Arena, who is right in the center here with a red dress on, as the deputy town moderator. We have a large crowd. I'm going to do my very best to see anybody who wants to speak. If you don't catch my attention or you see a problem, please seek out Miss Arena, and she can get into contact with me immediately and we can resolve the situation. Second, there are cooling stations on either side of the field. If you are feeling faint or you need some water, please go to the cooling station and we'll take care of you. If you're really not feeling well, the fire department is right over here. So hopefully we won't lose anybody. The second article, is actually one of the consent motions, and I will read that. I move that in order to expedite the consideration of routine items, Articles 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 will be considered for approval in a single vote without debate. Well, that kind of undoes what I said earlier, doesn't it? If you really want to debate it, let me know. I will read each article's number and a description, and if a member of the meeting requests hold, the item may be discussed. Then the articles will be moved as a group as printed in the warrant. So please, in the yellow pamphlet, take a look at Articles 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Article 2 is a transfer for elevator repairs at the Indian Head Elementary School. Article 3 is a transfer for removal and replacement of sidewalks at the Indian Head and/or the Hanson Middle School. Article 4 is a transfer for the purchase of a highway blower. Article 5 is a transfer for purchase of a highway berm curber. Article 6 is a transfer for private road improvements. Article 7 is an update to the wage and personnel bylaws. And the wage and Article 7 sometimes looks a little complicated, but we do it every year. Do I have a second on my motion? Seconded by Mr. Dwyer. So again, I'll say each one, I'll pause, and if you'd like to hold it, shout out hold as loudly as you possibly can. Article 2. Accepted. Article 3, accepted. Article 4, accepted. Article 5, accepted. Article 6, Article 6 is held. Article 7, accepted. Mr. Pelligra, would you like to speak to Article 6? Could you come to the microphone, please?
I just wanted clarification on what it means, the private gravel roads, please.
Can Matt Cahill come to the microphone?
Good afternoon.
Mr. Cahill.
The town has 5 miles of private roads that are consisted of gravel. We're obligated by bylaw to maintain those roads twice a year, based on market prices and other things that have changed over the time. We need more money to properly maintain these roads for the residents. And that's what it's going to be used for, is to increase the quality and drivability and maintenance of the roads.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am. And could I please ask that when you come to the microphone, we also have a roving microphone if it's easier, but when you come to the microphone, if you could identify yourself by your name and your address, please.
My name is Sandy Spacuzza. I live on Wilbur Ave. I'm one of the roads that is considered a dirt road. My question is, in the past years, they do come down with a backhoe or whatever, and they scrape the road. Within 2 days, especially once it rains, there are potholes again and different things like that. My suggestion, and it's just a suggestion because I had to do this to my driveway, and part of my driveway is owned by the town. I had asphalt millings brought in just to do my driveway alone, plus part of what the town owes, cost me $850. So my question is, if they're going to continue to do what they're doing in the past, it works for a few times. Everybody in that neighborhood usually has to have their shocks replaced on all our cars about every 2 years. There is another road that is off of mine called, Alex, what's the name of that road? Neon Court. The potholes on that road are so horrendous that you can't even, I wouldn't be afraid to walk down that road at night. As it is in our development, there are no streetlights whatsoever.
Well, now we're getting a little far afield. What I would strongly suggest is that you talk to Mr. Cahill from our highway department, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
But I recommend that we, for this.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Yes, sir. Please see Ms. Serino with the microphone.
Hold it right up to your mouth.
Okay. Jim Geronitis, 971 Whitman Street. My question is simple. If they're private roads, why are we maintaining them?
Mr. Cahill?
I believe it's more of the term that's used for them. They're still tax-paying residents. They still need to be able to get EMS, fire, and other rescue to them. We still plow the roads, maintain the roads, and in order to do that properly and safely, that's why we're asking for these funds.
The term private means something completely different. So have these been accepted by the town?
Not accepted, but the right-of-way is ours.
And again, this is a bylaw that we do this.
Okay, just clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am. If you could come to the microphone.
Good afternoon, Elena Madden, West Washington Street. Why aren't the roads paved if we have to maintain them twice a year?
Mr. Cahill? I wasn't expecting this to be the big debate of the night, but...
During the time of development, what has happened is we didn't invest when we should have for proper drainage and other things. So in order to pave the roadway, the amount of money it would cost just to get the water off the road and the type of infrastructure we'd have to install to properly do that would be astronomical, and really not a number I think that anyone would want to even see. The idea behind this is we can improve the quality of roads with a small amount of money. And to talk about a little bit just quickly on the millings, I've actually working with our paving contract right now. We are keeping all the millings. I've talked with DEP, conservation, and everything about using the millings on the private roads to help better these and hopefully eventually reduce the amount of maintenance we need moving forward and try to reduce the cost of the roads.
Thank you very much. Do you have the numbers, Todd, on free cash? Sure.
We're just going to change the filter.
It was just brought to my attention that we hadn't announced how much money we actually have to spend tonight. The available funds as of June 30th, 2020, which is the end of the fiscal year. Free cash, $1,296,088. Stabilization fund, $1,311,186. School stabilization, $161,647. Water surplus, $820,493. Recreation retained earnings, $4,205. And solid waste retained earnings, $15,585. So that's what we have to spend. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving Articles 2 through 7 as printed in the special town meeting informational warrant signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Articles 2 through 7 are adopted. I will now gavel out of the special town meeting and gavel into the annual town meeting. That is the blue pamphlet that you received on your way in. And again, we have a consent agenda. So please take a look at the following articles, and if you want to hold any of them, let me know. I move the town vote to approve Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, and 21 in the consent agenda as printed in the annual town meeting informational warrant. Now I'll just give you a quick rundown while you take a look at those, all right? Article 1 is to hear reports from the various town officers. Article 2 authorizes the treasurer-collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement during the fiscal year 2021. Article 3 transfers the sum of $20,000 from overlay surplus to pay for the purpose of funding the treasurer-collector's tax title account. Article 4, see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all paid elected officers and committees. Make sure I'm getting this right. I almost put Article 5 in there. That would have been a disaster. Mr. Hayes does not object. Article 13, this is for the community preservation committees to get a transfer the sum of $7,000 from community preservation for the Historical Resources Reserve Fund to pay for the purchase and placement of historical markers. Article 14, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept and enter into a contract for the expenditure of any allocated funds by the Commonwealth and/or county pursuant to the Mass General laws for the construction or reconstruction of town roads. Article 15, to set the spending limits for the following revolving accounts in accordance with the bylaws. Article 16, this is relative to an act relative to the Veterans Benefits Rights Appreciation, Validation, and Enforcement, or BRAVE Act. Provides property tax exemptions for veterans. Article 18, to see if the town will delete all references to the phrase highway surveyor in the town bylaws and replace it with the phrase highway director. 20, to see if the to see if the town will amend the general bylaws by inserting a new section as follows, which is about non-substantive renumbering by the town clerk. If anybody would like to help with that job, I'm sure Ms. Sloan will take it. Article 21 is a bylaw relating to the town meeting by deleting portions that are marked by crossing out in the bylaw. You can take a look at that. Those were all recommended by our town council. So once again, I'll pause for a moment after reading the article. If you'd like to hold it, let me know. We just got the official number, the quorum tonight, or we have made our quorum. Total attendance today is 518, which I wish I could say was a record, but it's not. We did have a bigger one earlier, but this is a great number. Welcome. Thank you for coming. So, Article 1. Oh, I believe Mr. Dyer seconded it. Article 1. Accepted. Article 2. Accepted. Article 3. Accepted. Article 4. Accepted. Article 13. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a hold on Article 4? Yes, sir. Article 4 is held. Article 13. Accepted. Article 14. Accepted. Article 15. Accepted. Article 16. Accepted. Article 18. Accepted. Article 20. Accepted. Article 21. Accepted. Article 4. Yes, sir. Would you like to, the microphone is right over here. Please state your name and your address, please.
Hi, Jay Mahoney, 61 Thayer Drive. Just a point of clarification. It says to fix the salary. Is there something wrong with it, or is this a raise? As I understand, the majority of the town employees did not receive a raise this year.
Yeah, this sets the upper limit of the amount of money that they can possibly earn, but the budget that's going to be presented tonight does not contemplate raises for anybody.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns on Article 4? Article 4 is accepted then. So, all those in favor of the consent agenda motion as seconded, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, and 21 are all adopted. Article 5. I'll make the motion and then we'll I move the town vote to appropriate the amended Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Agreement on file with the town clerk. Do I have a second? Mr. Dyer seconded. Explanation. The Whitman-Hanson School Committee has proposed an amendment to the existing Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Agreement. The final amendment's wording will be distributed before town meeting convenes. This article, if approved, will change the district's agreement as outlined in the proposed amendment. Before we get to Mr. Hayes, I'm going to recognize Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening. I just want to let everyone know that we have a balanced budget. This wasn't easy at all. This was a combination of the Board of Selectmen, our financial team, FinCom, department heads, police, fire, highway. I mean, everyone worked up until last night to get a balanced budget. So I just want to let everyone know if Article 5 and Article 6 go through, we have a balanced budget. Thank you.
I'll recognize Mr. Hayes. Just a general note, though. Someone dropped their car keys in the parking lot down here. It's for a Ford. So if you drive a good old-fashioned American car, check and see if you got your keys. Mr. Hayes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, home of the Panthers. And thank you all for coming. Tonight we have some tough decisions to make regarding the future of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, public education itself, and our greatest assets, our children. I've had the opportunity to attend Whitman Town meeting on Monday night, right here in the same spot as we will be holding graduation this Friday night. The meeting opened with the Whitman Board of Selectmen, the chairman, talking about the Wizard of Oz, and I wondered where he was going with this. I was listening carefully to him talk about having courage, brains, and a heart. And I think we've all seen this great movie many times. So where am I going with this? It takes courage, ladies and gentlemen, to make tough decisions. It takes brains to think things through and do what's best for schools and taxpayers. And you need to have a heart to realize that we are all in this education of children together. Every person here is in this together. So where are we going from here? Tonight, you will hear that the Finance Committee voted not to recommend the amendment to the regional agreement, and the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to approve the amendment to the regional agreement. This compromise needs to be approved. On Monday, the town of Whitman voted to approve the amendment and the 50-50 compromise for the FY 2021, and then all assessments to full statutory for FY 2022. Some people will say that we probably should have got a better deal. This is the only deal that is on the table for both of these towns. A no vote on this amendment in Hanson means we lose $570,917, and we will go full statutory in FY 2021. The district is on a 1/12 budget right now. And if we cannot agree by December 1st of this year, the state will take over the finances of the total school district. In the interim, we will lose approximately 40 district positions. Class sizes will get larger and difficult to manage. And with COVID-19 uncertainty and the future hanging in the balance, this looks pretty bleak for the school system. Hanson has the fifth lowest tax levy amount in Plymouth County, with only four communities below us. That's out of 27 in Plymouth County. Hanson is fifth highest in spending on fire as a percentage of the total budget, eighth highest in spending on police as a percentage of the total budget, 10th highest in spending on general government as a percentage of the total budget, and 8th highest in spending on public safety as a percentage of the total budget. And we have the lowest in spending on education in the town of Hanson as a percentage of the total budget. Please consider all the facts, and remember, Hanson has a great partnership with Whitman for over 60 years. Neither town could survive or thrive without this partnership. 21st century learning is much different than people have experienced. Whitman-Hanson Regional School District will be reinventing education as the requirements under COVID-19 are rolled out by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The roles of teachers, administrators, and students will be very different when we enter school in September, if we enter school. Please vote yes on the amendment. Provide Whitman-Hanson with an approved budget so that our staff and students can succeed now and in the future. Whitman-Hanson voted overwhelmingly to extend the $570,917,000 in the form of a compromise to Hanson. Please vote to accept this. In 1993, education reform changed school financing. Whitman-Hanson Regional School District regrettably did not act on this until recently. The current superintendent, Jeff Simonak, presented the school committee with a compromised method of assessment. This was debated and then voted by the school committee and presented to the town Monday night at the Whitman Town meeting. It was accepted almost unanimously. I'm asking you to accept this compromise this evening. The school committee and myself are asking you this. We voted this, and this is what our students need. Let this great partnership of Whitman and Hanson continue to allow for great student achievement. I've been involved in the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for over 18 years. In that time, I've seen schools overcome security challenges that were unbelievable, unbelievable budget cuts, and now a pandemic. However, the good people of Whitman-Hanson have given the regional school district great support in difficult times to help our students succeed. We have graduated approximately 300 students each year who have gone on to continue their education in great universities, colleges, and in military service and professional careers. Our students are the leader of our future. Please vote yes on this amendment. Thank you.
Mr. Young, would you like to make a motion?
Well, I'd just like to make a correction first before I...
Mr. Young, could you just introduce yourself, please?
Oh, Bruce I. Young, 594 Indian Head Street, Hanson, Mass. I'd just like to make a couple of corrections here before we start. If we vote no on Article 5, we still have a balanced budget. The only thing happens if we vote no on Article 5 is that the Article 5, which is an amendment to the regional school agreement to change the method of agreement that we've had for the past 60 years, which is the percentage of pupils method, to a statutory or wealth-based method of assessment. Okay, that's what Article 5 does. The school committee, when it certified their assessment to the two towns, made that assessment contingent on the passage of Article 5. So if you vote no on Article 5, the amendment goes back to the school committee and the assessment goes back to the school committee under Chapter 71, Section 16B of the Massachusetts General Laws. That's the way the law works. And the school committee has 30 days to review it and either send it back to the town or adjust it and they can do it prior to 30 days. They could do it in 10 days or 15 days. Okay, so that's the way the law works. But to say that if we don't pass Article 5, we don't have a balanced budget is not correct. Okay? Now I'll get into the crust of the matter. Mr. Moderator, I move to amend Article 5 as follows. Under E, apportion operating costs, change the wording in item 1 to the following. Apportionment of the operating costs of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District pre-kindergarten 12 through for fiscal 2021 and every year thereafter will be as follows. The remainder of Section 1 remains the same. In addition, Section 2 is eliminated in its entirety. In addition, the new Section 2 becomes the exact wording currently proposed in Section 3 of the proposed amendment to the apportionment of operating costs. One of the previous speakers made a fact. This is the only option before you tonight. I'm giving you another option. I'm giving you the fairest possible option you could possibly have, which is located in Section 2 of the amendment. Section 2 of the amendment basically splits the calculation for the statutory and the calculation for the percentage of pupils method that we've been using for the past 60 years and is preferred by Hanson right down the middle. And what you come up with in fiscal 2021, just with the change alone, is an increase for Hanson of approximately $575,000 for 2021 and a decrease for Whitman of $575,000. If you went all the way to the statutory method, it would cost the town of Hanson an additional $1,150,000 and a corresponding savings to the town of Whitman for $1,150,000. Now, what could be more fairer than just taking what Whitman wants, taking what Hanson wants, splitting it down the middle, and making what's already in Section 1 and what's already been assessed to the town of Hanson for fiscal 2021 and carrying that calculation on permanently. What we have here is a 60-year partnership that would like to retain. What could be more fairer than that? But you have not been given an opportunity under Article 5 to even vote on that. So what I'm telling you, if you don't want to completely move to the statutory, where it's going to cost the town of Hanson, believe me, between $12 and $15 million estimated over the next 10 years, and that savings is going to go right back to Whitman, and they can take it and use it however they want. If that's what you want to do, and you want to give up and not fight for what's right and say, no, let's do what's fair and in the best issue and with the best spirit of compromise possible, and vote for this amendment that I'm putting on the floor right now. Okay? I'm giving you the chance. Then that can go back to the school committee, and we can have our elected officials do what they should have done and actually come up with a fair compromise right in the middle, preserve the partnership for the region so it can carry on for another 60 years. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Young. So it's
Is there a second?
There was a second.
Okay.
Who seconded it, please?
John Zuko.
All right. Now, Mr. Young, you can relinquish the microphone, right?
Right.
So the
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
You're welcome. All right, so we have an amendment to Article 5. It's been seconded. Mr. Hayes, would you like to address the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Mr. Young. In your amendment, you said twice that it is the preferred method of the towns of Whitman and Hanson. I haven't heard a vote yet. You said that it was the preferred method, but I haven't heard this town meeting here say that it's the preferred method. That's what you said.
Mr. Hayes, I have a question, actually. What would happen if we did this amendment tonight? Wouldn't Whitman have to go back into a town meeting and approve it? Maybe you know more about this than I do.
Yes. If this amendment isn't approved tonight, we start over right at the beginning. We're on a 1/12 budget as we speak, and if we don't come up with a conclusion to this by December, we will be on a 1/12 budget, and the state will be running your finances for your school district. They have different formulas. They have yet to come forward and say exactly what the funding would be, but at different meetings when they were asked, they said, please settle this. We do not want to run the finances of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District.
I'll now, one moment, sir. I now recognize Kate Federoff, who is our town council.
I don't know if that's going to stay on. So essentially, whoops.
Oh, that's all right.
Essentially, with a regional agreement, in order for amendment to be passed, both town meetings have to pass the amendment. If one town meeting rejects the amendment or amends it from the floor, so thereby rejecting it as proposed, you don't have a new agreement. So what happens is the original 1991 agreement goes into place. Then we consider what we want to appropriate for the school budget. That number goes back to the school committee, but they only have the option at that point, unless Whitman convenes another town meeting with the sole purpose of making the apportionment more favorable to Hanson, which seems probably unlikely and against their interest, so it likely wouldn't happen. Then the school committee has to decide whether it wants to move forward with a budget based on full statutory or based on the regional agreement as it has done in past years. If that number comes back to the town of Hanson, Bruce is absolutely right. You have 30 days, the school committee has 30 days to reconsider our number, come back to us with a new number. We have the option of having a town meeting. It's pretty likely that that number will be higher. If then the second town meeting in Hanson fails, You go to the big tent meeting where both towns come together with a large town meeting, and you decide as a group what the budget for the school will be. If that fails, then you go to the December 1st date where the state takes over. So that's the scenario as it plays out if you were to amend the regional agreement from the floor tonight, if that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, and that combined town meeting is called a super town meeting, although I fail to understand why it's so good or super. Yes, sir. If you could introduce yourself.
The other one.
Oh, it's on now, Joe.
Joe O'Sullivan, 625 West Washington Street. I'm rising to speak against Bruce's motion, as usual. For your information, at 4 o'clock today, the Massachusetts Teachers Association ran a Zoom meeting with 10,000 teachers from across the state. They took polls. First poll, do you think your schools are fully prepared to open in September? Do you think they're somewhat prepared, or are they not prepared? Here's the statistics. 1% of 10,000 people said they're ready to open. 41% said they're somewhat prepared. 58% said they're not prepared. Now, that was done at 4:30 this afternoon around the state. The problem with 1/12 budgets is you can't plan for what you're going to do for the rest of the year. You need to have a budget in place. How can you hire the teachers that you need on a 1/12 budget when you don't know what you're going to get next month, or October, or November, or December? So the MTA has come up with a policy that talks about setting up regional meetings, not going back, as you already know, for 10 weeks, where you will reimagine what schools will look like with distance learning, and then reconsider later down the road if you want to open fully or have some kind of hybrid. Meanwhile, the Department of Education are exploring contracting with a private vendor for a teacher in a box program, which means they would do an MCAS related curriculum that you could just send out to kids. So I would really recommend I've had two kids that went through the Whitman-Hanson school system, and I got to tell you, the strength of the school system isn't the buildings, it's the teachers. Both of my kids were both challenged every day, they were supported every day, and if you want to blow your teachers out the door, then vote no on this amendment. I urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you sure you want them to vote?
No, I'm sorry. I urge you to vote for number 5 and vote no on Bruce's amendment. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Elizabeth Welch, 99 Ransom Road, and I have a few questions. I just kind of want to understand this right. So you're asking Hanson to pay 60% and Whitman to pay 40%?
Mr. Hayes can address that question.
No, that's not true.
That's not true?
No.
So why aren't
Yeah, I
we
said no,
paying,
that's not true.
Why isn't Whitman paying 50 and Hanson paying 50? Because of the ratio of students in Whitman is 60%, Hanson's 40. So you're asking the Hanson voters and the taxpayers to pay 25% more in taxes each year. It's 25%. And then when you, next year, 25% more, your taxes are going to go up and up to pay off this debt. And then Whitman will be paying 17% less. If I'm understanding this right, why should we be penalized and pay 60% when we have less enrollment? The budget went up to 55 million when we have one less school in the district and less enrollment. And I don't understand why the selectmen vote 5-0 on this. You're supposed to be speaking for the taxpayer and the residents, not the teachers union, okay? I got 2 in the school system right now. And maybe that guy right there, back in the day, the teachers were great. But I can tell you some stories. I've had a lot of trouble with, I'm not saying
Mr.
that.
Moderator?
I'm not
Mr.
saying
Hicks, we're getting off
that
topic.
there aren't any good teachers. There are.
I
But
think
I've
we're getting
had
off
a lot
topic,
of
Mr.
trouble.
Moderator.
I've had trouble. I have 2
We have
teenagers in the
we have a
school
point of
system.
order, ma'am. We have a point of order, Ms. Kemet. Yeah. Well,
Why is there a point of order when I'm trying to understand this and I just don't see?
One moment.
You want to be fair, and the selectmen.
One moment, please.
Should be standing for the kids and the teachers.
You've already said that. One moment. I'm going to explain it. Mr. Hayes will provide.
You know what? I've emailed Mr. Hayes numerous times,
Ma'am,
and he
please,
never responds
please,
to my emails.
Please.
Never.
We can't get off topic here. The quality of the teachers is not at argument
Am I right
now.
where there's a 60-40 ratio? And
That
you want us to
is
pay
one moment,
25%?
ma'am. Please, I don't want to remove anybody from the meeting, but if you will not listen to me, I will. If we're going to get through this, and we only have so much daylight, we have to stay on topic this meeting.
Okay, so his answer was no, it's not
Ma'am,
60-40,
ma'am,
that's not it?
One moment. What I am saying, I don't take a position on any of these articles. I'm just trying to keep order in the meeting. The point is, and Ms. Kemet's point of order, is that we can't get off topic. Your question, ma'am, your question about the 60-40 split is a perfectly legitimate question under this article. The quality of the teachers is too far afield. That's what I'm asking, is for you to stay on topic. Mr. Hayes, now we've heard your question. Mr. Hayes, please respond. Or, no, I'll recognize Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard's another member.
I asked Mr. Hayes this question via email many times, and he never responds.
Again, that is not at issue here. Mr. Howard is a member of the school committee. Could you please explain it?
Good evening. Chris Howard, Equus Drive, school committee member. So in terms of the per pupil split that you're talking about, the way the statutory methodology works is both communities make their minimum local contribution, and after that, there is a 60-40 split. That's the way the statutory method works.
So bottom line is, Hanson's taxes will be raised by 25% this year, and how many more years are we going to have this 25% increase on our taxes?
Mr. Mitchell would like to address the taxes issue.
With all due respect, ma'am, when it comes to the taxes, you're 100% wrong. The taxes aren't being increased 25%. Okay, we had an override back in the fall, and the town didn't support it. So if you're going to stand up, if you're going to stand up here and talk facts, then let's talk facts, ma'am. You're not talking facts.
Well, if we're paying 60%, that is 25% tax increase. And a
Reallocation of the budget. It's not an increase in your tax.
I don't think this had anything to do with.
One moment. I've had a request to move the vote, but this is the most important article of the night, so I'm going to dwell on it just a little bit. Ms. Fedorov is prepared to talk about the statutory method that may shed some light on this issue.
So essentially, it was the legislature that made this change. The statute, which governs how regional school committees operate, was modified by the legislature. And essentially what it did was it said the default position, the position if we don't have agreement otherwise, is this wealth-based method that Bruce Young had spoken about. And it's a complicated formula as to how those numbers are reached, but they're reached on the state side. Now, what the statute provides is that you have two methods of apportioning between the two towns. So one is the regional agreement method, which we had been using all along on the 60-40 per pupil basis, and the other is the statutory, and exactly like, and I'm sorry, I forget your name, this gentleman said it is the wealth-based method and then based for the minimum contribution, and then above that line is the agreement-based method, so per pupil. And the two towns were unaware of this legislative change. So for many, many years, we were just operating per normal based on the regional agreement. What happened was, I believe Whitman became wise to this, and they said, hey, we've been paying more than we should for the past 6, 7 years. And they wanted the town of Hanson to go pure statutory, so that default method. And Hanson, through the Board of Selectmen and the school committee members, worked with the school committee to reach this compromise, which ultimately saves the town $500,000 from what it would pay if you were to go the full statutory. And $500,000, someone can correct me on those numbers. I'm not the number person. But the reality is, if we don't reach this compromise tonight, in all likelihood, we end up at a big tent meeting, which is governed by statutory. We don't have a say. We can't say, well, we prefer to go per pupil. No one cares what we think. And then if we don't get agreement there, the state takes over, and that is also apportioned on the statutory. So this is one step away from that.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
Thank you. So this is a difficult issue for the town of Hanson, for sure. And so for those of you that haven't had a chance to watch this, this has been going on for over a year. So this has been a year-long debate within the school committee, within the towns of Whitman and Hanson. And what Mr. Young proposed would certainly work very well for the town of Hanson. The problem is, if you've been paying attention, it's something that absolutely would not be supported by the town of Whitman. The most important thing I learned over the last year, and there are folks here that will attest to this, they were in the same meetings, is when this first came up, we fought extremely hard to look at what are the options. We had attorneys come to our meetings. We had significant discussions about legal options. We talked at length about what was best for the town of Hanson. And we did that for months. At the end of that, what we determined and discovered was that all roads lead to statutory. That is not the town of Whitman's decision. That is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts' decision. We will end up at statutory. We'll either end up there this year, if we don't have a compromise, or we'll end up in the future. But this compromise does help the town of Hanson. And I think it's really important for all of us to understand that we have to look at this here and now and what it's going to mean to the students and the citizens of both towns. This is a compromise that is best for the citizens of Hanson and for the citizens of Whitman. And I strongly encourage you to think long and hard about this amendment before you. Because if you vote for the amendment, I can tell you my personal opinion only, there is no chance Whitman will support it. And we will end up at statutory this year. And we will not have the $570,000 that's been put on the table right now. So I would strongly encourage you to vote no against this amendment and to support the compromise that both towns have worked together to get. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kim McCoy. I live at 71 Cushman Street. I'm an actual 1990 graduate of Whitman-Hanson. I've lived in Hanson my entire life. I have a daughter who graduated in 2019 and another daughter who's going to be a freshman this upcoming year. Tonight I'm here to talk to you guys about partnerships. So being a member of a regional school district requires partnership. Hanson is a member of a partnership with Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, but we're also a partner with South Shore Vocational Technical High School. While Whitman-Hanson services students in 2 towns, Whitman and Hanson, South Shore VoTech serves 8 towns: Abington, Cohasset, Hanover, Norwell, Rockland, Scituate, Whitman, and as well as Hanson. Hanson uses the statutory method to pay its share of costs to South Shore VoTech. We've used this method for years. Each member town pays using the statutory method. DESE prefers this method for paying for regional school districts. In 2020, Scituate paid a little over $19,000 per pupil. Abington paid $15,500 per pupil. Hanson paid $14,100 per pupil to attend South Shore VoTech. In 2020, Hanson had 80 students attend at a cost of about $1 million.
They are our students, and we pay for them to attend another partner school. If Article 5 passes, the projected per pupil cost for Hanson is $7,431. We pay almost twice that amount to send students to South Shore Tech using their statutory method. This cost goes up each year, and it's simply another item added to the overall school budget. It is never debated or discussed. Consider the cost of other town members. Hanson pays $5,000 less per pupil than Situate, pays almost $1,400 less than Abington. I don't hear them complaining that they're paying for Hanson's students to go to South Shore Tech. We're a partner with Whitman. The statutory method is the preferred method for the regional school districts funding their schools. The statutory method has been used for years for other partnerships in this town without uproar or without problem. I urge you to consider this vote and support Article 5. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. And then we'll go to you. Now, as I call people, I see Mr. O'Sullivan in line again. We're running out of light, Mr. O'Sullivan. Oh, dear God. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, well, we will right after this gentleman right here. Oh, okay. Again, now, Mr. Young, you've already spoken once. All right. Let's hear from the people who haven't spoken yet, and then we've got to move along. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Jane Durante. I live on Harvey Circle, Hanson. I just really don't agree with what is happening here. I look at the information, and the finance company has not recommended this. I'd like to know why.
Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Sullivan is the chairman of the Finance Committee.
So are you talking about the Mr. Young's amendment? Or
No, I haven't even got to Mr. Young yet. Sorry, Mr. Young.
Sure. Okay, so the Finance Committee looked at this, and this agreement is not supported, cannot be supported financially by the operating budget alone. And because it's not supported by the operating budget alone, we voted not to recommend it. There's not money in the budget for it.
Answers my question. Thank you. We have used the per pupil method for, however, did I hear 60 years? I don't know. What's wrong with that? You don't go to the grocery store and buy 5 cans of tomatoes and expect to pay for 7. That's a fair and equitable agreement. And may I ask Ms. Fedorov if that is still a legal agreement as far as the funding method?
Yes, it's absolutely a valid agreement. It's a common agreement to have a per pupil methodology. The key is you need agreement between the parties to use that agreement. So both towns have to agree to that apportionment.
Thank you. Thank you. If it's legal and we're paying for our students, and believe me, I know the Whitman-Hanson Regional District. I spent a lot of time working, and it's a wonderful district. The students don't have a problem. When they hit the high school, everything is nice. But this is not fair. It really is not fair. We should just stay with the per pupil. If it's a legal funding method, it's just as good as the statutory. Now, I may be wrong, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there are a lot of, well, we'll just do what Whitman wants. Well, this is a free country, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to be intimidated, and we should vote. And I do agree with Mr. Young, just for the record. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Arena. Oh, could somebody make the microphone live? Try again, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Jim Geronitis, 971 Whitman Street. Question for the town lawyer, town council. Doesn't the statutory piece also include language or any agreement the region can come up with?
Ms. Fedorov. Could you just quickly restate your question, sir?
Doesn't the language in the mass law, or whichever it is, for statutory method of assessment also include that you don't have to use statutory as long as you come up with an agreement?
Yeah, so absolutely. It says you can make, so per pupil is just one method to have an agreement. There are other communities that have different methods of apportionment. If both parties agree, for certain, you can have it however you want. That's the key though, right? And if you can't get an agreement that's different than the statutory, that's when the statutory kicks in.
Okay, that's my first point. The second is, everyone is saying Whitman isn't going to bend. And if we don't pass this tonight, okay, fair adult uncertainty, do it or you're in trouble. That this isn't going to be the best deal we can get. Now, we've heard a lot of talk about going to the 112 and being under statutory and all of this. Well, if we vote this down tonight, or I personally agree with Mr. Young's amendment, it splits it down the middle, everybody wins and everybody loses. But if we don't agree this tonight, after a couple of months, I have to believe that the residents in Whitman are going to be getting just as upset as we are that we don't have a budget and they were continuing to fight. And the pressure is going to be put on them to come together and come up with a real agreement that has legs going forward. Because at this point in time, there is no partnership when Whitman can just use 6 votes against our 4 to drive everything through. So I don't believe there is a partnership because it's going to get rammed through every single time. But I hesitate to, don't expect that the other town isn't going to be willing to negotiate once the pressure is on them to do something different. Thank you.
Mr. Hayes, do you want to respond? Mr. Hayes.
The town of Whitman receives much more aid than the town of Hanson. What the town of Whitman is asking is that the aid from the state be put on their side of the credit, so to speak. Hanson is sharing in this aid and shouldn't be. Whitman is receiving more aid. And if you go by the method, that's what's truthfully going on. Whitman, we can talk about deals and what's going on. This is the deal that is on the table. You can bring it back to the school committee. If they disagree with it, we automatically go to the statutory method, as Ms. Fedorov said, correct?
Well, the school committee, at that point, you're not at the district-wide meeting, you're at the decision to come back to these 2 separate town meetings, so they could go on either method. In all likelihood, given the way your school committee is set up, it would go statutory, and then certainly at the big tent meeting, it's statutory.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And again, I just want to caution everybody, I'm going to try and get to as many people as I can. Again, it's the most important issue of the night, but we have to do a budget too, all right? So we've got to move this along. Yes, sir.
Frank Malisi, 604 Brook Street. I'm going to be brief. One thing I haven't heard a lot about tonight, which is kind of weird, is the children being mentioned. Right? I hear a lot of budget here. I hear a lot of, I'm a father of 3 kids. One of them's in 2nd grade. One just went to pre-K last year, and then one's going into pre-K this year. And I haven't heard much about the kids. Last year's school year failed our kids, not the fault of anybody in this school system, or the school committee, or the teachers, or anything like that. It was for unforeseen circumstances, which is fine. But they do not deserve a second year of having a wasted school year out of a budget. And while I completely agree with Mr. Young's amendment, I just think it's the wrong time, and it's not going to pass the town of Whitman. We need to pass this budget because honestly, for the past X number of years since I've been here, and I've only been here since 2014, we've been failing the school kids by cutting different programs, different music lessons, sports, everything like that. And while I have no problem paying a little extra for my kids' education, $100, $200, $300 a year on my real estate taxes, that's fine. Everybody needs to pitch in here because there's a lot of people who have been using this school system 30, 40 years ago that would have been in the same situation that I'm in right now. And you guys used the system. You guys went over, used all the money for it, and you don't want to pay for it now. And that's a shame, because this is a great school system, this is a great town, and every single person should be contributing to the youth of this town, past, present, and future, like I will do when I'm here in 20 years in Hanson. I will never vote to not fund our school system. Fund the school system, stop using our kids as pawns, and fund the school system. Everybody's on a fixed income. That's great. Get over it. Fund the school system. Pass the budget. If Hanson doesn't like it, that's fine. Whitman doesn't like it, that's fine. Nobody's going to like it. Pass the budget. Stop using our kids as pawn.
Thank you. Ms. Arena?
Hi, my name is Diane Cohen. I live at 767 Pleasant Street in Hanson. I happen to be a teacher in another district, but I live here in Hanson. My son is going to go to South Shore Voc next year. I assure every one of you that when you go to a 112 budget, your child will not even get an extra pencil when they need it in the classroom. They won't have paper or anything else. Your battle here is really with the state formula. We need to pass this budget now, this amendment now, to get our kids through the next year. And I know what you're saying, ma'am. I know there are good teachers. There are not so good teachers, as there are in every profession, as I'm sure there are in yours. But I can assure you that nobody goes into this profession to make a lot of money, okay? And we do go over and above, a lot of us. I know there are bad ones too, but do it now.
Ma'am, you're a bit off topic. We want to, one moment. I'd like to have this has gotten a little confusing. I've allowed the debate to take place on Article 5 at the same time as Mr. Young's amendment. The difficulty was you can't really discuss one without the other. So what I'm hoping to do is to take two votes in quick succession, because I have a feeling that whatever this amendment comes out, we're going to have an indication of how Article 5 is going to come out. I'm going to give you the last word just to mention it. 1 minute, sir. Mr. Young. Yeah. I'm sorry, but
This is my amendment, please.
One moment, Mr. Young. Please, for the love of God, this has been a complicated debate. And his amendment was about 25 minutes ago, and I don't think anybody knows what we're actually voting on. You can summate in 1 minute.
Okay. First of all, South Shore Votech, okay? South Shore Votech, I heard it.
No, Mr. Young, please, just sum up your amendment.
This is the amendment. If you look at section 1 of what you're voting on, all right, we do the 50-50 split, which is basically we're taking the percentage of pupils method, we're figuring it for both towns for every year ad infinitum. We take the statutory method, and we do the same thing for each town, and we divide by 2. The fairest possible method you could possibly have for both towns. Whitman gets $575,000 of our money this year, $600,000 next year, and as the wealth disparity keeps going on, they keep getting more and more of our money. That's what it does. Basically, that's it. But this has nothing to do with the kids and nothing to do with cutting teachers. This is the methodology, and it does not affect the bottom line of the budget.
Mr. O'Sullivan, you have a motion?
Yes, I do. I move to close debate on the amendment, and I have about 100 seconds behind me.
Thank you. All those in favor of Mr. Young's amendment to Article 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The nays have it. All those in favor of Article 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Article 5 is adopted. Mr. O'Sullivan.
Hi, Joe Sullivan, 625 West Washington Street, Hanson. I move to reconsider Article 5 that we just voted on in the hopes that the reconsideration does not prevail.
Point of order, Mr. Young. Mr. O'Sullivan, he's correct on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bruce.
And just for general information, because this is the first town meeting for many of you, it's not our tradition to reconsider articles unless new information comes to light in the intervening article. So now that we have dealt with Article 5, we will now go to Article 6. 6A. I move the town vote to determine what sums of money the town will raise and appropriate by taxation, transfer from free cash, transfer from the town ambulance funds, water department revenue, water surplus Title V, special revenue fund, MWPAT loan repayments, receipts received for reserved for appropriation, conservation notice of intent fund, overlay surplus, and the fund balance reserved for reduction of future excluded debt to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, and to provide for a reserve fund for the 2021 fiscal year, as printed in the Board of Selectmen Town Administrator. Oh, no. But we're doing it with the Finance Committee's recommendations. Oh. Yeah. As printed in the annual town meeting informational warrant. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. What we'll be doing, this is the budget. So you can open up your budget lines, and there's several of them. There are 88 lines. We're getting dark here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read each line, and if you would like to hold it and debate it, yell hold, or get in touch with Ms. Arena if I don't see you. But I will do just as I did with the consent agendas. Line 1, accepted. Line 2, accepted. Line 3, accepted. Oh, and before, I should have said this before. What we're going by is the Finance Committee's recommendations.
3 pages, right?
Yes.
3 pages.
All righty. My mistake. It's been a complicated night. We are looking at the column Board of Selectmen Town Administrator column. Apparently, the 2 columns were dependent upon how we voted on Article 5. So take a look at the recommended amounts under Board of Selectmen Town Administrator, and that's what we're voting on for this meeting. I'll start again just to avoid confusion. Line 1, accepted. Line 2, accepted. Line 3, accepted. Line 4, accepted. Line 5, accepted. Line 6, Accepted. Line 7. Accepted. Line 8. Accepted. Line 9. Accepted. Line 10. Accepted. Line 11. Accepted. Line 12. Accepted. Line 13. Accepted. Line 14. Accepted. Line 15. Accepted. Line 16. Accepted. Line 17. Accepted. Line 18. Accepted. Line 19. Accepted. Line 20. Accepted. Line 21. Accepted. Line 22. Accepted. Line 23. Accepted. Line 24. Accepted. Line 25. Accepted. Line 26. Accepted. Line 27. Accepted. Line 28. Accepted. Line 29. Accepted. Line 30. Accepted. Line 31. Accepted. Line 32. Accepted. Line 33. Accepted. Line 34. Accepted. Line 35. Accepted. Line 36. Accepted. Line 37. Accepted. Line 38. Accepted. Line 39. Accepted. Line 40. Accepted. Line 41. Accepted. Line 42. Accepted. Line 43. Accepted. Line 44. Accepted. Line 45. Accepted. Line 46. Accepted. Line 47. Accepted. Line 48. Accepted. Line 49. Accepted. Line 50. Accepted. Line 51. Accepted. Line 52. Accepted. Line 53. Accepted. Line 54. Accepted. Line 55. Accepted. Line 56. Accepted. Line 57. Accepted. Line 58. Accepted. Line 59. Accepted. Line 60. Accepted. Line 61. Accepted. Line 62. Accepted. Line 63. Accepted. Line 64. Accepted. Line 65. Accepted. Line 66. Accepted. Line 67. Accepted. Line 68. Accepted. Line 69. Accepted. Line 70. Accepted. Line 71. Accepted. Line 72. Accepted. Line 73. Accepted. Line 74. Accepted. Line 75. Accepted. Line 76. Accepted. Line 77. Line 77 is held. Line 78. Accepted. Line 79. Accepted. Line 80. Accepted. Line 81. Accepted. Line 82. Someone wants 54 held? 54 is held. Where did I leave off, Beth? Line 84. Accepted. Line 85. Accepted. Line 86. Accepted. Line 87. Accepted. Line 88. Accepted. Mr. Santalucia, which line did you hold?
Parks and Fields, 77.
Oh, so we're going to go in reverse order here. So we'll take up line 77 first. Mr. Santalucia.
Hi, my name's Pepper San Lucia, 517 West Washington Street. I realize people were here for things other than Parks and Fields, and there's a lot of issues on the table this year with COVID, with the recession, with everything, but I can't let a town meeting go by without stating my opinion as president of Hanson Youth Soccer and as a parent of 3 children, that this Parks and Fields budget is inadequate and has been inadequate for as long as I've been in this town. I looked at the capital improvement matrix. There's nothing on there for school fields, the middle school field, Indian Head field, whatever we're doing with McQuan Field. The schools don't take care of the school fields, and Parks and Fields, because of budget limitations, is not taking care of the fields either. They're falling into disrepair. We're not even allowed to have soccer games on the middle school field because it's deemed unsafe by the league. It's a shame. I know that we've got lots of budget issues this year. It may not be, next year may not be any better. But if you care about your kids and you're here because you care about your kids, take a walk and look at the middle school field, look at the Indian Head field, and think about your kids doing gym and physical education on those fields. Soccer puts money into the fields, the other youth sports programs do too, but the town needs to help. And I just wanted to plant that in people's heads for a future time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Santalucia. I don't want to belabor the Parks and Fields, but does anybody else have a comment or a question on that line? Seeing none. All those in favor of line 77? Okay, very well accepted, and then we'll come back. I know, I confused it, Teresa. Now, someone held Article 54. Would anybody like to speak on that? Yes, sir. The man in the mask.
Mr. Moderator, Bob Rogers, 286 Adams Circle. I'm also the athletic director at the high school. I just wanted to make sure. I thought you said we were voting on the FinCom line.
Yeah, I made a mistake, yes.
I just want to make sure it's legal what we're doing, that we're voting on the selectmen's number, not the FinCom.
We are. That was my mistake. Our tradition is to vote on the FinCom line, but due to circumstances beyond my control, we're doing it one time the other way. Did you want to speak, ma'am?
That was actually my question too, because you said the Board of Selectmen and the Town Administrator recommends, and there are 2 different amounts for this line.
Right.
So we're voting on the Board of Selectmen.
That's correct. We're voting on the Board of Selectmen line. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, line 77 is accepted. Would anybody like to speak on line 54? Oh, that was? Oh, all right. So no other questions or comments on on line 54. Mr. Young? We are approving on line 54, the one printed under the handout, Board of Selectmen Town Administrator recommendation. It's $11,214,177 is the total amount. Mr. Mitchell, would you like to explain? Oh, instead, we'll have Ms. Fedoroff explain.
So town meeting is full of tradition, for sure, and Hanson's tradition is normally to go with Finance Committee recommendations, but that's not necessarily a legal obligation. As a matter of sheer fact, the Board of Selectmen are the ones who prepare the warrant. So they, under the law, have control of the warrant. And what the Board of Selectmen recommends article is the balanced budget, which is based on the assessment that was just apportioned according to Article 5, so the 11.2 figure.
In other words, the FinCom column does not take into consideration, as far as my understanding, of the apportionment that passed with Article 5. Mr. Young, you have to come to the microphone.
Well, what I'm not understanding is, how does the passage of Article 5 increase the assessment to, on the recommended line, to $10.4 million, or automatically make the figure that we're voting on 11.4 if we voted against an $800,000 override that was for the fiscal 2021 school budget. That was part of the $11.2 million that was assessed to the town of Hanson. $800,000 of that money was in the override that was defeated. That's why the Finance Committee recommendation that we should be voting on is $10 million for. $10 million for plus 800,000 equals 11.2. Every town meeting that I've ever been that had an override involved in it, okay, and it had an override, and the override failed, and then we approved the Finance Committee recommendation. It had to go back to the school committee to be revoted, reconsidered, and then come back to the town. I don't understand what's going on here.
All right.
It's the first time I've ever seen this in the history of every town meeting that I've been going to since 1971.
Mr. Young.
This is just plain wrong.
No, Mr. Young, let me address that. Mr. Young knows that I can move whichever column I desire at the town meeting.
No problem with you.
Right. Well, no, I can move either column. My tradition is to move the Finance Committee's numbers for the budget. That was upended this year by Article 5. The Finance Committee's budget was based upon the traditional apportionment method. The Selectmen's budget is based upon the apportionment that we just approved under Article 5. Both are balanced, but depending on the outcome of Article 5, we needed two sets of numbers in order to make this budget somewhat workable. Now, both of them are balanced. If we hadn't passed Article 5, then we would have moved to the Finance Committee's numbers. But in this case, the selectmen brought to us a balanced budget with Article 5 having passed. And that's why I chose to take that column of numbers at this town meeting.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
if I may. If that's the case, now listen to me, everybody. If that's the case, the town of Hanson and its voters should have been put on notice, okay, that the 10 million for was not going to be voted on. Because we went to an override vote, and we defeated the $800,000 override, which was $800,000 of the assessment for the schools. People should have been put on notice. This was never discussed at an open meeting of the Board of Selectmen. This was never discussed at an open meeting in the Finance Committee. This was done undercover, and now we're just hearing about it. I object to it. And I'm making a recommendation right now. I'm making an amendment to that line to read whatever the Finance Committee recommendation is. This is atrocious. I've never seen anything like this in the history of town meetings. I object to it. If we vote that line tonight, I'm going to the Attorney General's office next week.
Mr. Young, no one's...
This is wrong and you know it.
No, Mr. Young, it is not wrong.
Was not
It is not wrong, and it's not my practice to bring illegal articles against
the town of Hanson was never put on notice that this was going to happen.
I have not recognized you, Mr. Young. Let me respond to your previous point. You, by all means, I'd happy to go to Superior Court on my own behalf. The fact is that if we vote to amend Article 54 to the Finance Committee's number, that undoes what we just did in Article 5. Article 5 was the agreement with Whitman. We agreed to it. Mr. Young has a different method of calculating it, but we've agreed to Article 5. Again, I did not vote, and I don't have a horse in that race. The only way to do Article 5 is to vote for the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator's number, which is $11.214,177. Otherwise, there is no agreement. Mr. Weeks.
Joe Weeks, 83 Hancock Street. I think if 2020 told us anything, traditions are out the window, and we have to just kind of do what we need to do to get by. I vote that we move the vote right now and continue on with the budget, please.
All right. So in order to do that, what we'll do is we'll take a vote on line 54, and if that passes, then we'll take a vote on the entire budget. All those in favor of line 54 as recommended by the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrators handed out at the beginning of this meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 54 is approved. All those in favor of the budget, thank you. All those in favor of the budget as a whole, as accepted, line by line, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 6A is adopted. Ma'am, yes.
I just have one general question. Earlier, when we just passed Article 5 for the 800,000, in the beginning, when we turned around and walked in here, you stated, or somebody stated that was up here, that all the guests sit to the right of the stage.
Yes.
So when we all said nay or yay, those guests that do not belong to the town of Hanson got a vote in us passing Article 5.
No, they were instructed when they came in that they could not vote. Had it been very close.
Who's going to hear me under my mask?
Ma'am. Once again, they were instructed not to speak, and I believe at best there were 20 visitors at this meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Simonak, I allowed to sit outside of the visitors area so that he could answer questions more easily. He has not voted.
Okay, all right.
One moment.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, very well. If you would prefer, the normal way to do this would be, Mr. Moderator, I would ask for a by the cards. I will take that motion. Could the tellers please count the vote? All those in favor of Article 54, line 54, please signify by raising your blue card and hold it until somebody has counted you. You have not been recognized. Thank you. Okay. Do you want to help Barbara? John's counting the stamp. All those opposed to Article 54 as proposed by the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator, please signify by raising your blue cards now. What's that? Blue card. Blue card. If you're opposed to adopting the Selectmen and Town Administrator's line on line 54, signify by raising your blue card now and hold it up until you've been counted. Usually we're going until 11. There wasn't much of a breeze. For spring. Spring. I know. Someday I'll be brought before the board. So you enjoying the first one, John? It's usually Yes. So by a vote of 483 in the affirmative to 32 in the negative, line 54 is adopted. All those in favor of Article 6A as recently accepted, just 6. All those in favor of Article 6, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 6 is adopted. Article 7. I move the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money to operate the Recreation Department during fiscal year 2021 under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, as printed in the Finance Committee recommends column of the annual town meeting informational warrant. So here we're switching things again. I'm sorry, but Article 7, we're going by the Finance Committee's numbers as printed in the warrant. Any discussion on Article 7? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 7 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 7 is adopted. Article 8. I move the town to vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money to operate the transfer station during fiscal year 2021 under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, as printed in the Finance Committee recommends column of the annual town meeting informational warrant. Seconded. Any discussion on Article 8? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 8 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 8 is adopted. Article 9, I move to vote the town to, I'm sorry, I'll begin again. I move the town vote to appropriate or reserve from fiscal year 2021 Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal year 2021, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation as printed in the annual town meeting informational warrant. Seconded. Any discussion on Article 9? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 9 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 9 is adopted. Article 10, I move the town vote to adopt the capital improvement program as presented by the Capital Improvement Committee. Seconded. Any discussion on the capital improvement program? Seeing none? Yes, it's the matrix on green paper that was in your handout. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 10 is adopted. Article 11, I move the town vote to transfer $230,000 from free cash and $70,000 from water surplus to various departmental capital accounts as printed in the annual town meeting informational warrant. Now there's, seconded. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. There are 6 lines in this article. So what I'm going to do is just like the budget, I'm going to pause on each line. If you'd like to discuss it, please yell hold. If not, we'll just move to a vote. Line 1, school roof repairs at Indian Head in the middle school. Line 2, a hydraulic chipper. Line 3, communications upgrade. Line 4, ventilation in the kitchen at Camp Kiwanee. Line 5, electrical wiring at the lodge at Camp Kiwanee. Line 6, a utility truck for the water department. Any questions or comments on all of those? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 11 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 11 is adopted. Article 12, I move the town vote to transfer $14,000 from free cash to reconfigure the guidance and sped counseling area at the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School. Seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 12 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 12 is adopted. Moving to Article, is it 19? No, we did that in the consent. I'm getting a lot of different articles thrown at me. Article 17 will be the next one. We've dealt with the other intervening articles in the consent motion. Ms. Fitzgerald Kemet moves to pass over Article 17. Do we have a second? Seconded. All those in favor of passing over Article 17 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 17 is passed over. The next article is Article 19. I move the town vote to amend the wage and personnel bylaws, Article 2-12, classification and compensation, by deleting Section 12EA in its entirety and inserting a new Section 12EA as printed in the annual town meeting informational warrant. Seconded. We have any questions or comments on Article 19? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 19 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 19 is adopted. The next article is Article 22. We have a motion to pass Article 22 over. We have a second. All those in favor of passing over Article 22 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 22 is passed over. Article 23. I move the town to vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court in compliance with Clause 1, Section 8 of Article 89 of the amendments of the Massachusetts Constitution to the end that legislation be adopted as precisely printed in the informational warrant. The General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the town administrator approves amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court. The town administrator is hereby authorized to approve amendments that shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of this petition. Seconded. Do we have any discussion on Article 23? Mr. Hayes.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, to our town council, Kate. Is there a question as to whether this article is even legal?
I think it's legal if we do it.
So what this article is attempting to do is get essentially special legislation to change the methodology to go back to the per pupil calculation. It, of course, would have to pass through the legislature, and I wouldn't guess at what the legislature would do except for to say that they would look carefully at an article which is being proposed by one town which may impact another town without that town's consent. And there is some case law which might say that it's likely could be challenged by that town if by chance it could pass through the legislature.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Young.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand how this would work if it takes two towns to vote a methodology for the percentage of pupil method anyway. And why are the selectmen in favor of this if they were in favor of changing to the statutory method and putting Hanson into a financial crisis with the statutory method? Why would they possibly be in favor of changing back to the per pupil method? Can somebody the chairman of the Board of Selectmen please explain that?
We now have a motion to pass over this article. Seconded. All those in favor of passing over Article 23 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 23 is passed over. Mr. Mitchell made the motion, seconded by Mr. Dyer. Was that the final one? Wow. Well, this has been a long, strange trip, hasn't it? Thank you all for coming out. But before you leave, could I get a round of applause for the people from the Whitman-Hanson School District? Jeff Simonak, Ernie Sandman, and Bob Hayes. Really, I'm not sure how we could have put this together in any other way. I hope we had a nice, safe town meeting. We did a lot of business. It was unusual. Who the heck knows? We might be back here in October. Let's keep our fingers crossed we're not.
Trash and water bottles with you.
Oh, please help out the school district by taking your trash and water bottles with you so that we'll have less to clean up after the meeting. With that, I adjourn the town meeting. Sine die.